Hi, I'm Uwabami, and here's my Hugo primer. I'm using Dylan, Lighter, and Hugo. Order doesn't matter, Lycon is fine too, but Lighter is better. Signature W engines do not matter for this rotation, as they only buff the actual numbers. However, M2 Hugo does matter for this rotation to function. As a disclaimer, I have M6 Hugo, but that doesn't change this rotation. Couple of starting notes. Lighter's using 4-piece Protopunk, and Dylan's using 4-piece King of the Summit. The reason being, Dylan easily maintains the crit damage buff on every damage window, and you stack crit on her anyways. Lighter's using 4-piece Protopunk because there's no other set at the moment that buffs Hugo, and 2-piece Shockstar to help max his ice damage buff, since it scales off impact. Which leads me to Hugo, who's running 4-piece Puffer Electro for a few reasons. 1. No downtime on the 4-piece effect. Hormone Punk has a 20-second cooldown, which is really annoying to work around. Number 2. Dylan helps you maintain Puffer Electro uptime on most damage windows. And number 3, pen percent is a good stat to opt into now that certain bosses have higher defense than average, like the Wandering Hunter. Here's a rotation in full speed.
I shall carve dawn into the shadow. Let order and madness dance. The end is nigh. Prostrate yourself before the abyss. Got you now.
Okay, let's break it down. At some point before you activate stun, full stack Lighter's Morale and land the finisher to apply Collapse, Lighter's 3-second stun duration extension. Then land Dylan's 30x, the Palm Strike, Paper, to apply Malicious Complaints, the 40% damage buff, and 2.5 second stun duration extension. Ideally, you apply Lighter's Collapse first to get his 3-second stun extension, and not Dylan's 2.5 stun, because they don't stack. If you're running Protopunk, ideally you'd want to activate stuns by defensive assisting with Lighter. This activates the buff and the rainbow stun bar at the same time. Do the follow-up and pop the chain window. Immediately chain to Hugo. This activates Dark Abyss Reverb for buffed crit stats. Cancel the chain prompt, immediately use your ultimate as fast as possible and get your first totalize. Unique to Hugo is that his ultimate is not considered a heavy attack, so it will not bring up the chain prompt like everybody else. Buffer normal attack to help Hugo build some energy, then immediately swap to Dylan and hold basic. By the way, Hugo will finish his entire N4 off field, which is important as it ends in a charge shot. If you have Mindscape 4, this applies as Mindscape's Ice Res Shred for extra damage, and if you have Mindscape 6, this also refreshes the duration of his Dark Abyss Reverb crit buff. If you're playing on manual chain, which you should be, make sure you don't hold down the basic the whole time. Hold to activate the skill, then immediately release. Even though you activate the skill with hold basic, it's considered an EX special, which refreshes the King of the Summit crit buff. Here comes the easy part. Chain to Hugo, whose chain gets turned into an ultimate for a second totalize. And lastly, EX, and totalize for the third and final time, finishing the stun combo. Some final notes. Without M6, the final EX will not benefit from Hugo's Dark Abyss Reverb buff. There's just not enough time to fit the whole rotation in 6 seconds. There are rotations that let you maintain the buff the whole stun combo, but you sacrifice so much speed that, in the end, the totalized damage is often the same or even lower than if you were to just cash out immediately and move on to building the next stun. Granted, that you land a crit. It also requires the use of manual chain and 90 of Dylan's positive review points instead of the normal 60, so without M1 or her signature, it's quite difficult to build up the resources from scratch without stunning again. Anyways, that's my primer. If you have any questions, let me know in the replies. Shout out Lynn Null for teaching me most of this when Hugo came out. Thanks for watching, and have a good one.
Prepare to kneel before me. Let the party begin. Let order and madness dance.